So I'm back again creating work, and every project begins with a search. In this case, a search for another yellow paint stick. So this is how they're packaged, the Shiva brand. And this is a yellow azu that I like to use for my sketch color. So what I'm starting here is a Tryptich. It's a commission piece from a restaurant patron of mine who knows about our kidney transplant story. So I'm just getting that started, breaking off the edge. Now, since all three of these are going to be a triptych, and I don't work to the border, I want to create 3 painting areas that are at least close to being the same, enough to drive the potential framer crazy. Now, as I said, these images are about kidney transplant, so each will contain a kidney. And it was interesting, I just went and, just for my own edification and accurateness, went and Googled images of actual kidneys. It was a shock when I donated mine, I didn't get to see it. You don't understand why. And then, so this is an image. I was asked to create this work 2 or 3 weeks ago, just before Christmas, and it's actually taken me till today, which is what, the 12th, to decide how I wanted to approach these. So I will frequently do that. It's like what you see is the actual time spent creating the piece, but there's a lot of time before I ever put oil stick to paper, to paraphrase the pen to paper typical remark, that I've been thinking about what this should be. So the idea, artists, we're never, ultimately never not working. We will consider what an image should be, think about it, see something on the street, maybe make sketches. Some of us sketch, some don't. I do a little of both. I'm not necessarily always carrying a sketchbook. And I tend to work from memory a lot anyway, because I feel like, they call it allowing myself to create the image as I go. So by not working from established sketches and trying to reinterpret a sketch I've already done into the painting, I tend to hold images in my mind's eye, and that allows for some opportunity to work on the composition and make things fit the page best, because when I teach, I've always told people, now just be aware that the still life you're painting from, no one will ever see. So your creation needs to stand on its own, independent of what your source material was. So by working from memory, I'm a little free to alter color, alter composition, and those freedoms are what can give us an advantage when making an image over a photographer who's reasonably locked into that which is in front of them. So not to diss photography, I really admire the ability to see, capture, alter, manipulate, interpret space with a mechanical eye. And then there's a lot more that goes on in the developing process. The push pins are not as strong as my paper is. So the idea for this image is a kidney transplant requires the removal of a kidney, the transportation, and then the actual transplant into the recipient. So it's where I'm kind of going with this imagery. And I do expect these images, this triptych, to be a little more simpler than a lot of my work. Notice I change from simplistic to simpler. Because it's hopefully will not be a simple painting, easily interpreted, but will actually have some power, gravitas, aesthetic importance to it. So, I was thinking about this. I obviously had intended to work on all three simultaneously, but that does not seem to be the case, clearly. I'm looking for there it is. The problem with these oil slicks is they're frequently, until you apply the color, there you go. So similar in color that it's in the stick form before you apply it. And it can be oft times difficult to tell the difference. Now, these ice cubes are going to require some overpainting, require some I'm going to have to let the painting rest so that I can get some really nice, bright, warm whites and sort of build this in stages. Because I wanted that to be the dioxine purple. But both of those were blue. Passion of Fashion. I may have to just break out another purple. Or is this the one in my hand? Nope. Sorry, I'm sitting here struggling to find what I'm looking for. All right. Green. Here we go. So I'm just going to crack open a new purple so I have a clear understanding of which one is which. And naturally, I'm having the gloves while keeping my hands and cracks and crevices in my fingers clean, and thus making my hands look better for work. Maybe I'll make some of this a little more difficult. So I'm seeing, one of the things I always try to do is balance my chroma, make things work as a unified whole. But right now this is a fairly analogous painting, meaning the colors are going to be all, so it's going to go from red, purple to blue dominantly, which is not a normal color scheme for me. I normally like to make sure I get complementary colors into the image. And that's not to say that I won't come back and add. In fact, as I think about it, I'm quite sure I will. So, say it with me, what's the complement of red? So it's green. So I want to work a little blue-green into this. Image, just to try to get some of that complement, because this color stream is driving me a little crazy. For me, it's just a little too matchy-matchy. So as I was thinking about this image, I was at work, and so I did a little rough just ink sketch of the idea of how I wanted to approach this. And because I work as a bartender, I have a giant bin of ice in front of me all the time. So it's sort of, it's just interesting how differentiated ice can be, how much color can actually be there. So like I'm saying, I'm going to come back into this ice later, obviously not in this video, because the paint sticks take a good day to set up enough to be able to paint over them. And that will also allow me to build the texture, make more differentiation in these areas. And see now, like this dark area, I'm going to lighten a little bit. Then I'm going to take that dirty paint stick and use some of that same color right there. And of course, ice is translucent, so I want to pick up, it's both translucent and reflective. So I want to pick up a little bit of the reds. And that's part of what I'm going to do when I come back through. Let's lay some warm, pale whites. Into this area as well. Sorry for the extended pauses. Clearly it can get a little difficult to think about the painting and think about what I was saying at the same time. So I'm just wiping off some of the color that was already on the paint stick to beef up these white areas, beef up the texture. One of my former instructors was always, amongst many things, but one of his was, and it was Jewett Campbell. One of his things was there should be no clear delineation between objects, that they should, oh, I just had a lovely idea. See, sorry, trying to think and paint at the same time. It can be tough. So if you look at my website, you'll see some stained glass pieces that are making icons of current events, both Black Lives Matter, protesters, early Black Power demonstrators. Oh, come on. And sort of turning them into stained glass religious icons. So since this is the kidney that is being transplanted, it seemed appropriate to me to do that with this. So if you go to gregleach.com, GREIGLEACH.com, GREIGLEACH, you can see these stained glass pieces I'm talking about. And now, of course, I'm going, I should do a kidney stained glass piece. I do have other than this commission, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I do have a stained glass commission that I'm also working on. But right now I'm waiting for communication from the client, so very well, we'll switch to paint today. So of course this painting is, assuming, and I will, use the same color for the kidney bean, or kidney, either one. It is striking to me how similar the kidney bean and the actual kidney look. And the red kidneys are even the appropriate color. So this painting also is moving in an analogous way. So I'm going to have to think a bit on how I'm going to keep that from being too strong of an element. See, that's the thing. While I'm doing this, I don't have a specific plan. When I started, well, let's be more accurate. I have a general idea of what I want to do, but I try to be in the moment as much as possible. Pay attention to what the painting is telling me, what the painting is saying it wants, needs. So, and you've seen it on some of these other videos, that I will actually change the position of people, move things around in the painting, even after that a large part of the painting has been, in essence, completed. You know, you can't be married to the initial idea. You know, I started out my schooling career in design and illustration, and even have gone on to do theater design. And one of the things you have to learn to cope with, and you have to be able to do, is come up with, well, like when I was in school, before you started a project, you had to submit 20 different ideas. And one that was just a way to teach you not to be knee-jerk, not go for the obvious, but try to push your thinking beyond the expected. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this one more. Oh yeah, where'd my purple go? There it is. Now, of course, see, I can't help myself, clearly. I was thinking about how to get this nice darker sort of rim shadow, particularly because of all of the bright light emanating from this kidney. And I just sort of instinctively, so I've got all this yellowy yellow-orange, and I instinctively picked up the purple, which of course purple is the complement to yellow, to lay this in. Now, how much of this will continue to be visible as I move forward remains to be seen. But that was, all artists learn, imitate other artists. You can't not do it. I mean, it's part of our visual reality. And one of the artists I've always admired and sort of was an early catechist for a lot of my work was Wayne Thiebaud, is Wayne Thiebaud, still alive. And he always left zips of brilliant color between what many misinterpreted as op art paintings of pastries and food trays. And he worked in a cafeteria, so there would be like a line of slices of pie or other kind of desserts. He virtually always did dessert. Let's face it, we all rather look at dessert, right? But he would leave these zips of color in what otherwise would be a white field around the objects. And in there would be all the complementary colors, the zips and zaps he needed. So when I was saying, I don't know how much of that will be covered, part of that is that idea, that purple outline, if you will, being part of his thought process. But right now I'm not loving that. And also, in an attempt to, I found these two pieces of paper are different than this piece of paper. And your substrate matters because as you look in this, because of the texture and the heaviness of this paper, it's Arches two-tone cost. I'm getting a better surface. And this one has a little more translucency, and the paint stick is not staying put, for lack of a better phrase. So I'm getting a little more translucency, a little more drag, which again, part of the way to solve that will be, now that I've laid this surface on, this is not the underpainting, but the initial painting of what will be the finished product here. So I will have more surface to work with when I come back into this painting. So what you're seeing in this video, we'll call it the initial layout, the initial thoughts. We'll see how, we'll discover how I can manipulate it going forward. And I will be sure to share those developments with you. So for the sake of my own thought process here, I'm going to stop this video. I will remind you that I will put a link to the manufacturer of the paint sticks, so where if you are intrigued by them and you want to go figure out where to go get them. Now, I just noticed, so one of the things that's happened here is because of the opacity that I was telling you about and the translucency here, you're getting a little bit of glow from the color coming up because of the paper behind. It's the whole idea behind underpainting. So you get more, so just, they're different because of that. Better being sort of a subjective word, I'll leave it alone. And right now I couldn't say which is better. But so where I was going was, so I'm going to do the next one off camera, let this sit for a day or two, and then I'll come back and finish this up, perhaps. We'll see. At least move towards finishing it with the next video. So please be sure to check out my website for other works. I do sell digitally created prints of a number of my works, not all. And they are digitally created, so they are technically reproductions. They're not original prints. There are some original prints on the website as well. But anyway, so be sure to check out the website at gregleach.com. I will post a link. And also to give me a follow, give me a like, a thumbs up. Come back and check out these 3 pieces with the next video, which will probably be up in a day or 2. So thanks for taking the time to look. And it's gregleach.com. It's Paintsticks. And there you go.